This is a true story of giving it all up. Abundance is not something we acquire, it's something we tune into. When I first lived in New York City, I decided to stay maybe 2 or 3 years. I was 19 and could not justify living in one place for the rest of my life. A couple of years here and a couple of years there seemed to make sense. New York, Paris, Australia, London, Chicago, San Francisco, Alaska, Japan, India, all attracted me. After trying them all out, I'd be about 40, and then I would decide where I wanted to settle. So soon enough, I reached my 2.5-year mark. I had not yet had my own apartment, regrettably. It would have been nice to know what it is like to have had my own New York apartment. But so it goes. Unless you arrive in New York with a ton of money and connections for an apartment, getting your own apartment can take a few years. I had not even yet had a good paying job, let alone having made it onto a Broadway stage. My time was up and I planned to move on. This again is giving it all up from my book, Wild and Free on the Lower East Side. Volume 1, revised edition. Laying down a plan consumed considerable time because important considerations came up. For one, I had no money. I had a few possessions and some loose change, but no money. Going someplace would take money. I didn't have a car either. Who wants a car? Besides, I hated cars. The vile, money-hogging contraptions in it. So I needed money for transportation. Then there was a question of where I would head. India currently lay beyond my reach, and so did Alaska. And what about all the stuff I had accumulated in the city? I had a couple pieces of furniture that I'd found. I had a lot of books, too. In my couple of books, I had read that when you give up all of your attachments, you get everything. Everything. Now, there's an idea to get attached to. But you really have to be serious about giving up all of your attachments. You can't just say to yourself, hey, I want everything, so I'll talk myself into believing that I don't want anything. And then, like magic, you get everything. No, that's faking it. Faking it won't work. Having read about this felt like a curse at first. While I certainly seemed to be in a position to seriously consider giving up all of my attachments, I now questioned whether I was faking it. Wouldn't I miss my books and my furniture and the people I knew? What about my family back where I'd come from in the first place? What about all that? What about the fact that I'd never had my own New York apartment? Aren't these desires, attachments, things to emotionally hold me back? Was I seriously willing to give it all up, or just smoking up my own ass? In short time, my mind had twisted that one damn question around until I wondered whether I existed as the biggest sham out. Worrying over such drivel got to wasting my time. Meanwhile, I had all those other more practical things to think about. So I thought about them. I got an idea. If I sold all of my stuff and told everybody I was leaving soon, I'd be closer to going than if I just sat around thinking about it. So I started to sell off all my stuff. The problem was that stuff seemed to accumulate as fast as I could sell it. After a while, I felt like I was fighting with the stuff demon. It took resolve. And eventually I got the hang of selling stuff faster than I accumulated it. Finally, I was down to next to nothing. It felt good, I tell you. I beat the stuff demon. What a relief. It occurred to me that this thing about willingness to give it all up wasn't really all as hard as some people might think. Now I had a little money. Still not enough to make a traditional exit. A traditional exit would at least involve a planned destination. So the next demon to beat was the traditional exit demon. I needed the god of alternative exits to grace me with some relevant and creative thinking. I guess that god heard my plea because genius kicked in and I came up with an idea again. Here's what I would do. I would leave with next to nothing. And then just keep on having next to nothing. I would just walk out of town and go wherever I wanted to go within my means at any given moment. I felt divinely inspired. Okay. All right, well then, that brought up new considerations. What if I ended up someplace really cold or someplace really hot? What if I got sick? What about when I ran out of money? Where would I sleep? What if I got lost in some strange place? What if I got injured? What if wild animals chased me or took whatever food I had? All right. Clearly, I needed survival training. I needed survival training, but I didn't want to pay for it. Books would tell me how to survive in all conditions, but I didn't want to accumulate any more books. So I went to bookstores and I read books on the premises. But damn it, I found so much information that satisfied my survival considerations that I couldn't remember it all. Yet I refused to buy another book. So I made my own book. I wrote very small in my own book. Soon I had all the information that I needed in one small place. Included in that information were details about various hiking and survival gear. I worked out the details concerning possible future conditions, prices, brand names, space, weight, and so on until I knew exactly what I needed to get. Then I found those items in a good store down on Wall Street, in the Wall Street area, and I bought them. After all that, I had $210 left over. Now all I had to do was walk out of town and get on with my life adventure, finally. Suddenly it occurred to me that I had just now completed willingly giving it all up. I mean, I truly felt free for the first time since I was a little kid. I didn't care about having never had my own New York apartment. I didn't want one now, not anywhere, not even anywhere. And so what if I hadn't made it onto a Broadway stage? I wasn't interested in it anymore. I had other places to go and other things to do. I didn't miss my books and my furniture. I felt free at last. So I packed all of my things into my backpack, put on my new hiking boots, and straightforwardly dispatched myself to the Holland Tunnel. I was on my way for real. I knew that hitchhiking out of town through the Holland Tunnel could take hours, maybe days. What did I care, except that I wanted to get out of town before I got too hungry. It was about 10 a.m., and I could last until the next day. So there I stood with my thumb out. 2 hours passed. No problem. But as I stood there, I kept looking toward uptown at the Empire State Building. It upstaged the other Midtown buildings. What a cool-looking building. I had seen it in the middle of the night during violent thunderstorms. In the total darkness, suddenly a web of lightning would flash over it, and I could glimpse its specter-like outline disappearing into the storm clouds. What a spectacle! The building will always be a spectacle. Even in the middle of the day, it inspires awe. And in the evenings after dark, with the colored lights on the top of it, shining straight up its tower, it looks really homey in a Big Apple sort of way. Well, now there I was standing, now there it was standing uptown from me, unshakable as ever. I'd never been to the top of it. What kind of guy would walk out of town not knowing if he'd ever be back without having gone to the top of the Empire State Building? That's right. What kind of scum-sucking, low-life asshole would I feel like? If I got to Paris and somebody asked me whether I'd gone to the top of the most popular structure in New York City and my answer was no, well, that would not do. So I took leave from my post and I headed toward Midtown. Just this one last thing, A farewell in proper form. The final act of letting it all go. A symbolic act of closure. I would just go up there to the top of the world and put out my arms and breathe in the life before me and breathe out what my life had been up to that moment, and then with an open mind and a loving heart come back down and make my trail upward. The ride up to the observation deck, it cost $4. That left me with $206. Now, it seems that realizations of where we are in life come right when our minds are open and our hearts are loving. And it seems that turning points take on their own lives, turning us in directions that we could not have planned on our own and that take us the rest of our lives to understand. And so it went when I got up to the top of the world. I stood there with my arms out, breathing life. I felt the freedom. I felt the wind. I felt the anticipation of greatness. Then I noticed that for the first time in my New York City life, I could not hear the city. It was silent below me. Silent and alive. I could see Harlem to the north, the Statue of Liberty to the south, New Jersey across the Hudson River, and Queens across the East River. I could see about half a dozen beautiful suspension bridges. I could see people. I could see Wall Street. I could see the commerce center of the world. I could see all of life concentrated into one place. I could see the single place where almost all of the world's cultures gathered. I could see where the news comes to from around the globe. I could see where I already had everything. It was all right below me. All I had to do was to go down there and be a part of it. Where else was there to go, really? Where in the world had I thought I was going to? Exactly nowhere. So with a newer sense of being and more open mind and a greater loving heart, I went back down to the world. I did not go back down the Holland Tunnel, though. I went my way. I went back down to my old neighborhood. I sat on a stoop on St. Mark's Place near 2nd Avenue with a rather carefree perspective. And I waited. I didn't know what I was waiting for. It didn't really matter. Maybe it was for the seasons to pass and the sidewalks to crack. After about an hour, an old car rattled up and halted in front of me. I'll be damned if it wasn't Susan. You don't know Susan. But trust me, it was Susan, with her big soft brown eyes, who got out of the car and ran over to me. She looked frantic. She said, "Oh my God, I'm so glad to see you. Where are you going with that backpack?" "Nowhere," I said. But I had planned it to go somewhere, and then I changed my mind. Her eyes grew intense, and she blurted, "Well, that's good, because I'm leaving the city and moving to Arkansas. And strange as it sounds, I can't find anybody who wants my apartment." "Do you want my apartment?" "It's a really great apartment. It's 5 rooms, and it's not a railroad flat, and it's only $200 a month. Please tell me you'll take my apartment so that I can go." Well, this was nothing short of flat-out unbelievable, raised to a power of approximately 10. I felt stunned. I wanted to take some time at this. But if you're slow, you blow. So without hesitation, I said, "Sure, I'll take it, but I have 2 problems. I have $206, and that's all. And I have no idea how your landlord will take this." And she replied that the amount was perfect because I would not need a security deposit, and that the landlord was such a jerk that he didn't care who lived there as long as he got the rent. So all I'd need is $200 for the month. Cool. But then she said, "There is just one more thing, the key. I paid $6 for the key deposit. I'd just give you the key if you didn't have $6, but since you do, can we exchange the key for it?" Needless to say, I dished out my last $6. And just like that, I got the key and the apartment all in one moment. After Susan told me where the apartment was, she drove directly to Arkansas, and I never saw her again. The apartment was number 2C in the building on the northwest corner of Avenue C and 9th Street. And there you have it. Maybe I'd gone a bit far in believing that I had everything just when I had seriously given it all up. That is, I didn't actually own New York all of a sudden. But at last I had my own New York apartment just when I didn't care if I never had one. One thing I wonder to this day, though, It's whether I could give it all up and then actually go on not having anything. It doesn't seem like the world has that in store for me. And come to think of it, there is one more thing that I wonder about. How long would I have sat on that stoop until my carefree perspective ran out? I doubt I would have lasted through the passing of the seasons and the cracking of the sidewalks.